Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball, Game7Baseball.com. Look for us this weekend. We will be at Warrenton Athletic Complex in the beautiful metropolitan area of Warrenton, Missouri. I don't know if it's metropolitan, but we'll be out there. And we're going to have some fun. Game 7 Baseball, the Cinco de Mayo tournament. We will have all the stuff happening on Saturday. Our interviews, our highlights. We're looking forward to it. We got some cool stuff. Come by the tent. Our good friends at Prime Sports Midwest will have their store open under our tent for you to peruse. If you're looking for a glove, you're looking for a bat, you're looking for some. If you need a new grip on your bat, if you need some new batting gloves, you got a hole in one, there you go. They will be out there. Come check it out, Prime Sports Midwest. And speaking of Prime Sports Midwest, on our call-in link, Mr. Kevin Moulder, the guru himself, we're back. We're ready to go today, right, Kevin?
Ready to roll. May 1st, it's we're getting down to it. It's the fun time of year, and what are we, a week and a half away from district play?
Yeah.
2 weeks, depending on, yeah. So looking forward to it.
So this area back here is basically production. They do a lot of the artwork back here. They do the production. So any of that stuff that comes in off of, let's say, our fanware stores, stuff that comes in off the team stores, a lot of the coaches wear, a lot of the last minute, hey, we got to have it in the next 10 minutes stuff. That's all comes back here. This area is where all the day-to-day stuff that comes in really goes through. The retail store is its own little entity. This is where the real work is done.
And you know what was interesting? A lot of the games, we were in Kansas City this past weekend, or we were on Sunday. We did the podcast, and then the game with Liberty North and Staley. Yesterday, another fun one, Fort Zumwalt West and Francis Howell. All these games, because not only these conference games are about the conference, but they're also district seedings, right?
Yes. These games carry some weight for sure.
Absolutely. And that's, I talked about that with both Coach Goff and Coach Perkins yesterday before the game, and they were like, yeah, this is huge, because Howell Central has played their way into some of that conversation as a high seed in District 4 with Fort Zumwalt West and Francis Howell. So they got some opportunities there. And nobody's talking, nobody thinks about it. They're a young team, but they're hard to beat. If you catch Howell Central on the right day, you might get beat. That's just a fact.
Oh, well, yes, very very good team. I don't know if they're going to challenge for a 1 or a 2 seed in that district, but right. Correct. Looking at it, I think they're dead even. They're 14 up, 14 down, but they are definitely a young up and coming team, and they're well coached, obviously. So, and they beat West this year.
Yeah, and they beat Howell.
And Howell.
Yeah.
So they can play with anybody.
I didn't see that coming either. I thought they were going to struggle a little bit with a lot of their youth, and but they're a pretty good ball club. But let's get into this. I said this to Kevin before the show, and we were at the game yesterday, which was a dandy. Howell wins 2-1. It was interesting, Kevin, with these games. Here is Titus Sissel has the game-winning RBI in the second inning. That's how good, and the pitching just took over from there. It was the same for Staley on Monday. Earl Beck knocked in one of the runs. Both runs for Staley in that game were scored in the first inning of a 2-0 ball game. And we just saw
Goes to
pitchers.
show you got to be ready to go, and when you're playing high level baseball, the game can be decided in the first or second inning. When you're playing those low scoring tight ball games, one hit or one play could determine the game in a first or second inning. In a lot of games, that's not the case. But
Yeah.
that's kind of how it could be in a lot of the postseason games, especially the better matchups. Tight one run game. Everything is going to matter. In those tight big ball games.
It was a couple of walks that came back to bite him too. Those free bases. So pitchers, remember, no free bases. But Coach Sissel said to me, he says, there's not one real dominant team in the state. And I know he was talking about Class 6. And, when he said that, I'd not thought about it before because we always think of these dominant teams. But I got to looking, I was looking at the wins and losses, and he's right. I think I agree with him, Kevin. How about yourself?
Well, there isn't a runaway team. That's for certain. We do talk about this all the time, how a lot of the best teams do play very good competition, so that you'll see good teams with 6, 7, 8 losses fairly routinely. But yes, he's correct. There's not a the past couple of years, I think I've been able to tell you who's going to. I've accurately predicted who was going to win state. Sometimes before the season started.
Mm-hmm.
This year, it feels more open to me, and I could see a group of teams having a good chance to win it this year. There isn't a clear-cut team that's just out ahead of everybody where it's going to take a monumental upset to beat them. There's some teams I really, really like, but there's not a team that I would be shocked if they didn't win the state tournament this year. But there's also probably as many as 7 or 8 teams where I wouldn't be shocked if they did win state type thing. So it's going to be a fun postseason is what that means, Brian.
Oh, I agree with you there because I think these district tournaments are going to be brutal.
Yeah.
And when we talk about, looking just at the rankings here from Prep Baseball Report, Missouri, the top 7 teams are all Class 6, and then there's Willard jumps in there at number 8 for you guys. The top 7 teams all have 7 or more losses. They're all 7 losses. Blue Springs has 9 losses, and they got the, Cole Gibbler there. They're playing good baseball.
Yes.
Francis Howell has 8.
Yep.
And, it's interesting when we look down then, Kevin, Glendale, Parkway South, and SLU only have 5 losses. Where would you put them in the mix here?
Yeah, and even since those rankings have come out, there's been a couple things that have happened at the beginning of the week where I was actually just talking with one of my associates today about how I think I could see a ranking shakeup coming next week, depending on how the rest of the week plays out. But Parkway South is probably deserving to be in at this point, it's great. They were on our cut line, and we chose to put a team in above them, and then they go and beat that team pretty soundly yesterday. So that's great, and the players decide this. The only one that really is kind of my educated guesswork is the preseason one. And then we kind of let the players decide it, and we just make the adjustments accordingly. But yeah, there's a couple really good teams that were left out of our top 15 there that are right there. And those 5A schools, some of those schools can really play with anyone and have. You look at Willard, Zumwalt South. Man, that's a really strong group. We were talking beforehand. I like the Festus team a lot. They have they got two front line left-handed pitchers that you don't want to see. I can promise you that. They're the defending champions. So there's a number of really good teams at that 5A level. So it's going to be a lot of fun to follow here the next in 2 weeks when we start this thing up.
Well, going back to the Class 6 here, Glendale, which we've kind of, I think, one of those teams under the radar here. They only have 5 losses, and they just swept Rockbridge and Francis Howell over this past weekend.
That's quite a day right there. Drew Wedgeworth, left-handed pitcher, doing big things for them down there. He beat Howell this past weekend. I've seen him pitch a number of times, and that's your throwback pitcher right there. Just a high pitchability, great changeup in and out of the zone, in a good way, in a pitcher's way. He commands all of his pitches, great mound presence. I have seen him do that to a number of teams. But yeah, Glendale was kind of on that fringy line as well, and certainly you go beat 2 of the top 4 or 5 teams in the state. That's an attention getter.
I think so. I mean, and then there's Jackson down there with 6 losses. We're going down to Jackson next Tuesday for CBC, so get a chance to see them firsthand. Haven't seen them play, so I'm excited about that and the opportunity that brings. Where do you see Jackson in that mix, Kevin?
I think they're right there as well. They got one of the state's top pitchers in JP Sauer heading to Tulane. It's an experienced group. They just have a great program, which you'll get. I'm glad you're going to get to experience next Tuesday. So I would put them right in the mix for being serious contenders. When we get 2 weeks from now into the playoffs, and they're going to be right there. And I'm just thinking about their district right now. Obviously seeds haven't come out and whatnot, but I like the Seckman team a lot. But that Jackson team's, arguably, going to be the favorite in that district. Them and Seckman, I would think, would be right up at the top.
And just as a note, I won't get too much, but Seckman, they've struggled recently. Lost some games I didn't think they would, but that happens.
But
right?
That's a really good lineup, and they have they have the pitching, and they're solid. I think they're like 15-9. So it's a good group. They are capable for sure. And they actually play Jackson tomorrow, I believe. So kind of an interesting matchup because you got districts, the right around the corner, and they're getting a matchup right before district. So that's a little cat and mouse for the coaches. I don't know if I'd want to throw my top guy in that game, but you certainly want to go win that game because you got district seeding there too. So, the difference between being the 1 and the 2 can be pretty important because depending on the depth of a district, and I'm not talking about this one specifically, but just in general, if you got a dogfight in your semifinal game, and then you got to burn pitching and bullpen. So sometimes the difference between being the 2 and the 1 is big because that 3 seed could be, a really, really good team. And maybe the 4 seed isn't as strong. There's a difference between the 3rd and the 4th. Some years that's not the case. Some years, in a real deep district, a 4 or 5 seed can be a really strong team. And we saw a 5 seed win last year with Lafayette making that run, and they were obviously a really capable team. So, but that'll be a big game for district seeding next week for Jackson and Sackman.
And next week, next Wednesday, we're going to talk about districts. We're going to get into that because I think the seedings should be close to happening, maybe done. I'm not quite sure. I know I was talking to coaches. I'm not quite sure when they set those meetings. They should be happening pretty quick, though, right?
You can just tell everyone how it should be, and then we'll see what the coaches, what they mess up. But we'll put your name behind that, of course.
I like that. I like it. I'm okay
I'll
with
just
that.
provide a little commentary on the teams.
I don't mind. I've been wrong before, Kevin. Oh, mercy. Last team I want to sneak in here to Class 6 is we just had a conversation with one of these coaches in this past Sunday, and that is Kirk Bragg, and head coach at Liberty. They're not going to sneak up on anybody, but nobody's talking about them.
A week or two ago, we had them in our rankings, in our top 15. They are having a really good year. Obviously, they clipped Staley yesterday after Staley's big win on Monday. But yeah, Liberty's sitting there at roughly, I think they're 18-8 now, and they got some great wins. They've beaten Willard, they've beaten Staley. So if Blair Oaks, if they're able to Ozark and, so they have some really nice ones. They can play with anyone in, they're used to it. They're in there with Liberty North and Staley, and, they were 3 years ago, they were the state champions. So this is a team with pedigree, very, very well coached. And, we've called District 8 the District of Death for a reason. And the last 3 state champions have come out of District 8.
I had them in my top 10. I gave Glendale the nod this time into the top 10 because, just that, looking at those, the sweep of that, that's pretty good stuff when you're beating Rockbridge and Francis Howell on the same day. So I gave them a little nudge.
Not a bad day. Yeah.
Not a bad thing. So, but Liberty's right there. I mean, it's amazing. Moving to as Kevin alluded to with the Class 5, Willard just keeps. That was a big game yesterday, Kevin, between Branson and Willard, and I wanted to see where Branson was within this mix because they've had a pretty good win streak. They're getting up there. They're playing well. And I think they're a good, solid team. They go down to Willard. I think it was 2-0. And so, there again, Willard kind of exerting that dominance against a really good Branson team.
Yeah, Branson's having a great year. I remember I watched them play Glendale last season, and they lost a tight game to them, but they've played some good teams. They've played Borgia, they beat Nixa, who we like a lot. Webb City, and they haven't won some of those games, but they're playing those games. So they're playing good competition, and they're a game like yesterday's is going to prepare them for postseason play. But that Willard team. Really well coached. I've had an opportunity to see them, and they're firing on all cylinders right now. So that's a good group, and I think they're up to 23 or so wins this year. So Willard is a group that definitely have my eye on in that 5A. But it's setting up for a collision course. With Zumwalt South, Festus, I don't think there's a sure pick at that 5A level either.
Jeff Montgomery, he's got that team. They kind of started a little shaky. They seem to have found themselves. They're putting win after win together. Because I was kind of suspect on Festus early, and you're talking, you go, no, hang in there. They're going to be just fine.
Yeah. You got left-handed pitching like they got. You're going to be all right in the long run.
So they're right back in there. The other team, Kevin, in Class 5 that I think is making a surge, they've won some games recently against really good. They beat Borgia. They beat East. They're beating teams. That's St. Dominic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good group. Charlie Kilcullen there, kind of leading the charge on the mound and at the plate, having a big year offensively. The St. Dominic group is good, and I know we'll touch on that district. So that is going to be a monster district. District 4, I believe, with Zumwalt East, Zumwalt South. You got Holt, who had been 6A last year. So, now they're playing down a class, and St. Dominic and obviously Warrenton, St. Charles, and, North Point has a scary arm, and Jack Collins. So Hannibal's had good runs here recently. So that's going to be quite a district as well.
There's no games off. You can't say, well, I can throw my number 2 here. No, you're going to have to play every game in that district, Kevin. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I like to see the seeding, and but yeah, that's one where being the 1 seed will be very important because the 6 and 7 seeds in that district are going to be good teams.
You get Hosack, and
right?
He's on.
Exactly.
You
get a Hosack or a Colleen, you're going to have your hands full.
Right? I mean, that's the thing. It's just, so that district there 4 in this class, I think whoever wins that has a really good shot at a state title because that's a gauntlet of good pitching.
Yes.
So I just looking forward to that one. And, just to give a shout out here, Warrenton just went 10-0 in the GAC North. Not a lot of people talking about Warrenton. They're 19-3 or 20-3, something like that. They just beat Union yesterday, a good Union squad.
Big win.
That's a good win, Class 5. That's a team I think. Are they good enough to beat Zumwalt South, Dominic? I don't know, but we saw Warrenton, and they play well. They play very well.
Yeah, no, that will be interesting. Now, they haven't played quite the schedule. Now, they've run up quite a few wins, but if you look at their losses, they lost double digits to Zumwalt East. They got shut out by St. Dominic. So when they've stepped up in class, so to say, they've struggled. But anyone that's won 20 ball games is going to be someone to be reckoned with for sure. So that's going to be one to keep an eye out. Question will be how will they do when they have to face those big time arms.
Exactly. So that'll be an interesting one. I think that's a great one there. Those 2 teams, Union and Pacific. Pacific beat Sullivan yesterday. Both teams are 14-5 at the time Pacific comes out on top. There's a team I think to watch in Class 5 having another solid year.
Well, I really like the Pacific team. Yeah, they're having a great year. They're 15-5. Jake Collier, they got a guy on the mound, a left-hander that can beat absolutely anybody. Mid to upper 80s with a really good breaking ball, can get up to 90, and also swings the bat a little bit for him. Coach Reed at Pacific is one of the top coaches in the state. And has had good teams before. He knows what he's doing. He's been in these situations, and he's got another really, really good group this year. And that Sullivan team is a good team. They have one of the better pitchers in the state in Drake Gower, and Sullivan's having a nice year. So that's a good win for Pacific. in a tight one, 3-2, and so that's something that'll prepare you for postseason play.
Absolutely. Kevin, there's a couple more here. Of course, we got to see Rockwood Summit a couple weeks ago, Friday Night Lights. I'm Shout out to Coach Wiggins. I would have loved to have had that Webster Groves. There's another team playing very well, Class 5. They just won the Red Pool. Webster Groves is going to be a tough out.
They have done a great job, and yeah, congratulations to Webster winning their conference. Coach
That's
Wiggins
hard
has
for
done
you
a
to
really
say,
good job.
too, isn't it?
No, it's not. It's I mean,
No, I'm kidding.
I certainly want to beat Webster anytime Kirkwood's involved. But in all sincerity, they've done a great job, and they've got a really good group this year, and Coach Wiggins has done a good job. We've talked about that a number of times with that program, and he has provided a spark for them. And the other great thing to see, and we've talked about it with a couple of the other places, they've done a good job with that facility. They just turfed it and made a commitment to it. We talked about how Lindbergh did that, and then Webster and Kirkwood did it the same year. And those are, beautiful facilities and only going to help the product on the field and developing players, and it's a great thing for baseball in our state and our region, and good to see Webster on board. And Webster was really at a low spot not too long ago, and they've done a good job, and now they're to the point where they're winning a conference. That's really impressive work.
Yeah, absolutely. Kudos. And they're not shying away from competition. You look at that schedule. They go out and find it, and they're not. Let's go play ball. You got to love that. Respect that. The other one, though, Summit. Real quick, get back to that. Friday Night Lights. Summit is playing good baseball right now. Another Class 5 team we've seen over the last few years get into the Final Four. And so here they are again playing good baseball. Where are you at with Summit?
Yeah, I like Summit a lot. They have a sophomore left side infield. Wyatt Schneider can really hit. Sophomore third baseman. They got Caden Dingus, another sophomore that's doing a nice job for them. They're a good team, and that's another team we've seen down at Ozark in the Final Four. So that's that's a good group. They got a good pitcher in Logan Darnell. They got a guy that can beat just about anybody. So that's going to definitely be a group that's going to be a handful here in a week or two when district play starts up.
And we saw Wyatt Schneider on the mound on Friday night against Parkway Central and really shut that offense down, Kevin.
Wow, that's impressive. Yeah, I see he's having a good year. From my eyes, just looking at it moving forward, he's a bat and a third baseman, but looks like he can do it a little bit at the high school level on the mound as well.
Yeah, he pitched very well. I think he got into the sixth, and and Parkway Central. One thing that team has always been able, they could swing it. And
no question.
Right, if you can shut down Central's offense, I mean that's pretty good stuff. So I like what Summit's got. I think they got some opportunities. The last one here, though, kind of scuffling a bit. Where do you see Borgia? I know, Jack Noby is the elephant in the room. They've been scuffling a bit here. Do you still see them just staying in that and keeping that momentum?
Yeah, I mean, you got Jack Noby and Caden Carroll. You're going to be in a good spot come district play. That's a really dynamic 1-2 that you have right there up top. Jack Noby's just, regardless of class, one of the best, if not the best player in the state in terms of production and having a good year. And they've started to hit their stride. They've won 4 in a row, so they're up to 16-7. But I just think that's a that's a tough team to play. If you got to face Noby or Caden Carroll, that's going to be a tall order for anybody. I'm looking at Noby's stat line right now. He has a .21 ERA, Brian. So he's given up one. Here's something crazy. Sometimes these ERAs, you'll see a great ERA, but the kid's given up 10 unearned runs. So, you either wonder what's happening with the scorebook, or even if it's an honest book, defensively that team's got some major deficiencies if a kid is giving up 10 unearned run. Jack Noby has given up 1 run and 1 unearned run. He hadn't given up an unearned run all season. So they've touched the plate once anytime Jack Noby is pitched this year. So if you want to play them in districts, that's that wouldn't be my first choice. To play.
Oh, mercy. That's incredible. That's incredible. And he's going to Xavier, correct, Kevin? Jack
Going
Noby.
to Xavier and, having a big year at the plate too, hitting .437, 5 homers, and Noah Hendrickson having a nice year for them. So they got a couple nice pieces there with, he's hitting over .380 with 6 bombs. So they got some juice in that lineup.
He's the catcher, right? Noah Hendrickson?
Believe so, yes.
Yeah.
I have not been out to see Borgia yet this spring. They're high on my list to go see. They're one of our better teams in the state, and made a good run last year to Ozark as well.
Last few teams here. We'll look at a little bit of Class 4, and then we want to we'll touch a little bit here. But who's going to beat Logan Rogersville?
Boy, I'm going to get myself in trouble because last year I would have said the same thing to you, and they got upset in districts. So anything can happen. We have seen that a number of times before, but boy, they got a good group. Now, there are some other good teams, obviously, at the 4A level. I like the Southern Boone team a lot, what Coach Ash is doing there in that Columbia area. They got a really nice group. Father Tolton has a really strong team. So now the funny thing is they're, in the same district as Southern Boone, so only one will come out. MICDS has put together a pretty nice season, right. And they got some scary pieces. They got some really good. They got a lot of talent there. That'll be a fun one to follow as well.
Well, and also you teed it up for us too, Kevin. We're hoping, and this is the big one next week. This is our last game of the season that we'll be live streaming, and it is at Southern Boone versus Father Tolton.
That's a heck of a game right there. Great venue as well. Fun place, full field turf. They've done a nice job with that facility. Fun place to watch a game. Good atmosphere.
Ashland, Missouri. So next week, make sure you're subscribed. We got Tuesday. It's our finale week. Tuesday, Jackson versus CBC. And then Southern Boone on Thursday. Southern Boone taking on Father Tolton. I'm looking forward to it. Be fun, right?
You should be. You're closing with a bang and getting out and going to 2 great venues, and that'll be fun.
It's been a blast getting out, going to Liberty North. That was a lot of fun. Getting to see that atmosphere. I'd met Coach Stiegel face to face at the state championships, and we talked, and he's been on the show. We've had Coach Wilson on the show a couple times, but never met him face to face. So it's nice. That's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. is Coach Wilson.
Oh, Coach Wilson. Yes.
He's just a nice man, and I understand why those kids like playing for him. You know, he just looks like a big, fun guy to just nice.
Yes.
Oh, but last one I want to touch on here. We won't get too far into this, but the last one, it's in District 16. We don't know much about these guys. I've been looking at them. I have them ranked in our Class 4 rankings at number 3. They are 20-3, Kevin. And this is Benton High School. And you go and look, they have beaten Smithville, which is a Class 6 school.
Great program. Yep.
They've beaten Kearney, a Class 5 school. They have beaten Savannah, which is 16-9, and Savannah's having a good year in Class 4. They just beat Lafayette St. Joe, which is a good program, been in the Final Four, 15-0. And they beat Savannah 19-8. I mean, they are taking care of business. They beat Ozark early in the season in the red and blue tournament down in Springfield 1-0. Beat Hillcrest 4-0. Beat Parkview 15-0. Beat St. Pius X 9-2. These are good wins, Kevin.
Yeah. Again, you get 22 wins. You've done something, and at the 4A level, they're playing strong competition, and have stepped up in class and knocked off some of the bigger schools. So this is absolutely one we're going to have to keep an eye on when we start breaking down this 4A state tournament. The 4A is set up a little bit differently, where we got a little bit smaller districts, and you get a district champion, and then we meet up with a sectional round, a couple sectional rounds. So there's an extra layer in there before we get to the state tournament, which is fun. So that'll be, we'll have to break down where some of these paths, who's colliding with who, and try to figure that out. It's a little tougher than figuring out the larger school ones.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But that, when I started doing the rankings this year, so I'm looking through these schools, and I'm looking, all of a sudden I see Benton. I'm like, who's Benton? Where are they? And they're beating all these teams. I'm like, my goodness. Because, Kevin, you've said it on the show numerous times. There's a ton of teams in the state, and you can't see. It's hard to cover everybody, isn't it?
Well, yeah, literally there's not enough days in the calendar to cover all the teams, because there's more teams than there are days in our spring baseball season. And even if you divide it by 2 and run the table perfectly, getting every matchup, never getting a team twice, you can't do it, literally. Benton would be a great example of a team I'm excited to see. See what happens, who can make a good run here at the 4A level.
Because St. Pius X, they've put together some wins. They started off a little tight there, but have come on late in this season. Of course, they have that pedigree as well. That's going to be a tough team to beat as well.
Absolutely, but Benton has already done it once this season. They got them early in the year. Teams change so much from, late March to mid-May. Sometimes for the better, sometimes not so much. And there's teams like that every single year.
Absolutely. So we're going to kick off on this. Valley Catholic finally lost a game. 27-1. I mean, they were undefeated, and they Valley Catholic. What class? They're 3, correct? Kevin, is that class 3?
That sounds right. I need to double check that, because sometimes, especially the small get moved around because they win too much. They'll move them up. But yeah, they are indeed 3A, and they are having a heck of a year this year.
That's going to be an
28-1.
Is it 28-1?
Yeah. And the game they lost by 1 to Farmington.
And Farmington's having a good year.
Farmington, yeah.
That's a class.
They got some good games coming up. They got Chaffee coming up. They got a regional rival, Notre Dame. So that will be fun to watch. But I have a feeling there's a good chance we'll be seeing them here at the end of the month at down in Ozark. But you never know.
You never know. Can't tell. And then you've had Lone Jack and Licking in your small school rankings pretty much through the season. Lone Jack is, I think, a Class 2 school, I think it is, or something like that.
Well, and Lone Jack has one of the top pitchers in the state, Ethan Rogers, lefty, heading to Wichita State, was with us at the Future game. So they got a big-time arm that can, line up with anybody in the state. And Licking, we saw that group last year, won state. So they Harv Ansel, great coach, really good program. So not surprising that they're up to their normal tricks.
We got to meet Coach Ansel last year. He came on the show with us. Remember down there last year?
Yes, of course. Yeah, coached one of his boys.
That's right. You did. That's correct. So see all those connections, man. We're going to be down there again. We got the trailer this year, Kevin. We got the mobile studio coming.
Oh, nice.
So I'm looking
that's
forward
when you need it too, because that's a fun 4-day, but you need some shelter a little bit at times. So
yes, you do. We found that out quickly. We almost got blown away a couple times.
At some point, it's going to rain. You're going to get some high winds. Hopefully, we get a lot of sun. And sometimes it's nice to get out of the sun occasionally, especially in between games.
Exactly. So we're looking forward to it. Going to be a lot of fun. Don't forget, next week we're going to start talking districts and start looking at how those things are breaking down. Hopefully, we'll get some seedings. We'll see. If not, I'll throw it out there, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. There you go. That's okay. It's fun. It's just fun. And but as always, Kevin, that's good stuff, buddy. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Fun doing it.
Folks, thanks for tuning in. Please, if you like what we're doing, hit the subscribe button. Hit the dinger next to it. That gets you all your notifications for upcoming episodes such as this. We got some great. Go back and check out the games. If you like high school baseball, all season, we got the live stream lineup on there. You can see some great stuff going all the way back to our first game at Willard High School. We were at Nixa with Springfield Catholic, some really good baseball all the way through the season. Go check out some baseball if you're a high school baseball fan. We appreciate it. And don't forget next week, that's why you get to subscribe and the notifications. Next week at Jackson, CBC visiting Thursday in Ashland, Missouri at Southern Boone. Father Tolton visiting. Folks, have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, Kevin, give them some advice.
Keep throwing strikes.
Hitters, hit them where they aim. We'll see y'all next time.